All right, for history, we're gonna be starting Theodore Roosevelt. We just had the test on Friday, so it's time to start something new. Theodore Roosevelt on page 324. But before we start, I wanna look at some landforms that are out in the west. We've been doing the states that are in the west. So we're gonna look at some different landforms. Old Faithful, that's right here, is a geyser that shoots hot water every 60 to 90 minutes. It's in Yellowstone National Park. The water in Old Faithful is 204 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, so that means it's hotter than boiling point, right? All right. And I believe that is in Montana. Or is that Wyoming? I'm having a hard time telling. The lines are not as clear on this map. Let me get out the other map and hopefully we can tell after we look at the other map. That's not the one I want. I want. There it is. Alright, so if we look at this map, we see this is in this state right here, Wyoming. Yeah, so Old Faithful right here in Wyoming. Alright, yes, just wanna make sure. Alright, then we have the Great Basin. It is the largest desert in the United States. Alright, so that would be right beside California, right up here, so that seems it would be in Nevada. They don't tell us in this fact here. Then we have the Redwood Forest, and that is, they have it here, but they're pointing to right here, and that is the top part of California. Alright, so if you look right here, top part of California, and the Redwood Forest has the largest trees in the world. Not even just in the United States, the largest trees in the world. Some are as tall as 360 feet or even taller. And last of all is the Rocky Mountains. Now the Rocky Mountains run all the way from New Mexico all the way, but you can't tell it, through Canada up to
Alaska.
yes, all the way up to Alaska. So it is the Rocky Mountain Range all the way up to Alaska. Alright, so Rocky Mountains is actually made up of more than 100 smaller mountain ranges. So in this Rocky Mountain Range, there would be other names for the part that's down here, or the part that's here. They would have different names. Okay? So, but the whole thing, starting here and going all the way up to Alaska, is known as the Rocky Mountains. But within that, they would have different names for pieces of that. All right, let's begin. Page 324. Tomorrow, we'll start back looking at specific state maps. We're just going to do this landforms for today. All right, Theodore's childhood. Young Theodore Roosevelt longed to spend his days exploring in the woods near his home, but the disease of asthma kept him inside. Since he could not catch his breath easily, he was homeschooled and spent much of his extra time reading. Finally, Theodore's asthma improved and he spent long summer days outdoors. Sometimes he brought snakes and frogs into the house from his adventures outside. Top of the next page. When he was 9 years old, he even wrote a book about the insects he had found. Look at this! Theodore opened his hands to show his sister a large beetle. Get that thing away from me, Teety, Anna yelled. You know I don't like to touch your bugs. When Theodore was 13 years old, he began having trouble seeing clearly and started wearing glasses. These glasses did not look like glasses people wear today. They were two lenses that pinched on his nose. He wore the same type of glasses his entire life. All right, so if you look at that picture, you can see that he does not have the side piece on his glasses. You can see that you just pinch them together so they just sit on your nose. Sort of like those masks that you guys that have the metal thing and you pinch it so it sticks on your nose? That's sort of like his glasses, except it was a pair of glasses that just sat on his nose. Theodore's father challenged him to exercise to help his body become strong. They built a home gym together where Theodore lifted weights and exercised. He disciplined himself to work hard and strengthen his body. He especially enjoyed hiking and climbing mountains, no matter how hard it was. All right, let's read these important words and important names before we turn the page. Is everybody with me? Some of you are not. Let's go. Important word, reformer. A person who changes something for the better. And we're going to learn that Theodore Roosevelt was a reformer. He changed things for the better. Square deal. A plan Theodore Roosevelt put in place to control big businesses, packaging of food, and conserving national landmarks. So this square deal would have been one way he made America, the United States, better when he was president. Top of the next page. Theodore Roosevelt, youngest man to become president of the United States. All right. That's funny because I thought it would ended up being. Maybe he was the youngest man at this time. Maybe I need to check into that. William McKinley, president with whom Theodore Roosevelt served as vice president. So when William McKinley was president, Theodore Roosevelt was vice president. And then later, he himself became president, I believe. Rough Riders, a group of volunteers led by Theodore Roosevelt who fought in the Spanish-American War in Cuba. All right, Cuba would have been over here below Florida. That's where Cuba is, okay? All right, turn the page. Everyone needs to turn one page only. Thank you. Are you even on the right page? Why are you not even on the right page at all? Ellen? Can't learn if you don't pay attention. Please get your eyes when you read. On page. When he finished his homeschooling, Theodore went to Harvard College. Then he studied law at Columbia University, where he met and married his wife, Alice. Theodore Roosevelt was interested in government and decided he would go into politics. Life in politics. Theodore Roosevelt believed it was his duty to help make our government and our country better for everyone. He was elected to the New York Assembly when he was just 23 years old. Right away, he became known as a reformer, a person who changes something for the better. While Theodore Roosevelt was away working, his wife lived with the Roosevelt family. News came that she had given birth to a little baby girl. Theodore rode the train back to his home and found that his wife and mother were both very sick. Sadly, both died on the same day. Mr. Roosevelt named his baby daughter Alice Lee after his wife. His sister took care of baby Alice while he worked. A growing family and a new job. Theodore Roosevelt decided to leave his home for a while after his wife's death. He bought a cattle ranch in North Dakota, and you guys all know where that is, North Dakota, South Dakota, so he bought a cattle ranch in North Dakota. Once again, he spent lots of time outdoors and soon fell in love with the wilderness. He loved to hunt and ride his horse and became a successful cattle farmer, as well as an author of books about the West. By the end of his life, Mr. Roosevelt would write 35 books about many different subjects. Do you remember how old he was when he wrote his first book?
10.
Was it 10 or was it 9?
9.
9. And he wrote a book about
Bugs.
About bugs. Top of the next page. After a few years, Mr. Roosevelt moved back east and decided to marry again. His daughter Alice also came to live with them. He and his new wife, Edith, had 5 other children and were a loving, happy family. Theodore Roosevelt did many things to improve the lives of others. He helped people find good jobs. Later, Mr. Roosevelt also served as the New York City Police Commissioner. Theodore Roosevelt became even more involved in politics. His friend, William McKinley, ran for President of the United States. Once he was elected, President McKinley appointed Mr. Roosevelt to be the Assistant Secretary of the United States Navy. Not long after he was given this job, the American battleship Maine, and that is named after the state of Maine, but it is just a battleship named Maine. The American battleship Maine exploded because it was believed that Spain had attacked the ship. The Spanish-American War began. Mr. Roosevelt resigned his job in the Navy and volunteered as a soldier. Most people who volunteer to serve their country are very young. Even though Theodore Roosevelt was nearly 40 years old, he knew his country needed him. And we'll start learning more about the Spanish-American War tomorrow.